Lots of you guys know me, but many of you don't. See, I grew up in the hood, and my first language was not English, it was ghetto. Right? It was slang. And so I've never been a good speaker. I could barely put an English sentence together, okay? And so going through this process of growing in leadership, eventually when they asked me to speak, I about passed out. You know, I remember being at my first event, and I was backstage just going nuts. I mean, I was freaking out. I was literally, I couldn't see anything. I was dripping sweat. I was in a daze, right? And I'm just pacing back and forth. And I'd look at you guys, right? Because I didn't hide behind the stage. I was on the side where I could see everybody. But worse, they could see me. I'm sure people were like, that's the guy that's going to be speaking tonight. Like, he doesn't look well, you know? I was freaking out, you know? And I, for sure, I wouldn't classify it as good. And years after that, I wouldn't have classified it as good. But and this is how powerful it is. Being involved with a positive group of people, you get told uplifting words all the time. See, but there's certain ones that really speak to your heart. They speak to your soul. And as we get farther into this talk, I'm going to try to show you why that's so powerful and how to do it. But I remember one night specifically, I was giving a talk, or I don't even think I was talking. I think I was just introducing, like I was doing an in-between part. And it was horrible, as usual, right? And I don't know why, but I came back to the back of the room, and one of my mentors was standing there, and he just had this big grin on his face and was kind of chuckling. He's like, man, you were going to be such a great speaker someday. And like that messed me up because I totally just bombed, right? I'm like, I don't know what you just saw, or if you're going to start personally training me, but I stink, you know. And to this day, I remember how his face looked. I remember the room. I remember exactly how I felt, you know. And I've had that happen a few times. There's been times where somebody told me I could do it when I for sure was at a point where I wasn't doing it. And and times where people said thank you, and they really meant it. It wasn't a surface level thank you to get a reply back. It was a sincere, heartfelt thank you. And the magic is in those three examples that I gave right there. And because they weren't surface level statements. They weren't just patty cake, yeah statements. They went to my core. And it's a unique, what's the word? It's not a technique, right? It takes some growing of yourself to be able to do that. And that's what we want to get into. So, to quote Proverbs 28:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Right? And it's amazing how many quotes and statements there are that talk about how powerful words are. But here's the thought process. If you're ever going to really get good at human relations, and unfortunately, no matter what we're involved in, somehow humans are tied in. Now, I know for most of us, that's not a good thing, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but humans drive me nuts. Has anybody flown lately? Has anybody tried to get on an elevator lately? That one just amazes me to no end. Here's the door, and there's 25 people lined up right here. I'm like, where do you think the people in the elevator are going to go? Move! It's amazing how dumb we act sometimes. We're so focused on ourselves, we don't see anything, man. It's like, it just happened. We just flew back from the Bahamas. And I don't, maybe it's just in human nature, we're wired, when we hear a ding, that means race. Because I am shocked still every single time when the plane lands and that buzzer goes off. Me and Jackie like, wait, we listen. Bing! Get out of my way! Right? I'm like, where do you think you're going? You're in row 58. So what? You pushed that old lady out of the way and moved up 1 foot. You ain't going anywhere. I don't get it. So back to my point. If we're ever going to get good at human relationships, which we have to, then we need to start, see, and here's where I think it starts going deeper. It's not the techniques. You need to start thinking about we need to start thinking about what we're saying. We need to think about who we're saying it to. We need to think about when we're saying it or where we're saying it at.